Hey, it's Joelson here. I just want to give you your variable rate update. Later in the week, wanted to add a few more pieces to it. Hey, I also want to make sure you're watching these videos and you're sharing them with your friends. We get a fair amount of clients actually reaching out still saying, hey, what do you think about variable rates? Which worries me a little bit because it means some clients really aren't getting the videos or watching the videos. So make sure, as you know, like the information is changing on the go. We've been working on this all year round. And every video is important and informational and stuff that's important for you know for your mortgage. So a few news things. We will have this week the meeting in Jackson Hole, which is when the Fed will, or Jerome Powell will be making a speech that's largely projected to give a really good trajectory on where they're going with rates. General consensus here is that that rates are at the end of the rate cycle. I think that we will see another rate hike in September, and I think that's for two reasons. I think that's reputationally for both the Bank of Canada and and the Fed in the States, probably the same thing, to make people know that that inflation is still very much in their peer view. But I think it'll be less than previous, and I think that's very, very important to be aware of. House prices have sold substantially, or slowed substantially. We talked about a number of times. You'll notice at the pump, gas prices down. Inflation, although it doesn't seem to be stopping, it has cooled down at the pace. So it's still, high, but it is not going up and up every single month. So we definitely see things going in the right direction. Well, it's not really fair to say go in the right direction. Inflation is cooling off, which is what will cause the rate cycles to end. I think that it's important to be aware of here is that, the other thing I want to add too is that probably easily the most respected economist from my perspective and most people's perspective is CIBC's an economist. He thinks the right cycle is coming to end. I think he's easily the sharpest guy when it comes to economists on the bank side of things. I don't put a lot of stock in the other folks. I don't put a lot of stock into our economist. I think she often gets it wrong and is way out from left field. And really where I think it's really important where economists mess up is we got to really look at the bias on things. Are they biased towards, putting out a message that is helpful towards institutions and the government? And you see this all the time. Are they biased towards a particular political stripe? Remember, and I think this is not said enough, but I'm saying to clients all the time, banks are not our friends. You are, they may put out really nice ads and they may say, hey, we want you as a client, but this is really not behind the curtain. This is really not how they see it. To you, they are your client or you are the product. One of those two things is really percolating in their mind. It doesn't mean there's nice people to work there, but they are not looking out for your best interest. They're not looking out to make sure that that the average Canadian family is doing well and prospering and all type of thing. This is not the goal here, and so we have to keep that in mind when banks are producing reports. And so this leads me into the something that I've talked about and touched a number of times. When you think about media reports coming out, really watch who is the source and who is circulating that report, because what is their motive behind it. When you see something like talking about, like there's a report out this morning, RBC says that the trigger rate that I think it's 70,000 people will hit a trigger rate. Trigger rate's when you have a variable, the payment doesn't change, but trigger rate means that eventually that payment will change. Now, what's the motivation? RBC putting out the report, worried that people will hit that trigger rate to push you into a fixed rate that's 5 times more profitable for a bank. That's what it comes down to. And we can't forget the fact that for everything that's happened, it's easier for people to go, well, I would have been better on a fixed rate at the beginning of the year. You don't know that you're not going to pay that over the next 3 or 4 years. That's for sure. And you also need to realize that a fixed rate is more profitable. So of course, a bank is going to propagate more information around the idea that that you should be locking in those variable rates. So that's super, super important to be aware of. I want to also talk about rate cycles. So what's going to make the rate hike cycle stop, and what's going to make it go down? So we are trying to slow the pace of inflation, and we are trying to make it so rates go up when we are slowing the pace of inflation. So and here's how you can be aware of this on a micro level. If as interest rates go up and my payment goes up, it means my consumer behavior changes. So go out for dinner less. I buy less. I don't buy that new iPhone. That's the behavior they're trying to change, which in their perspective anyway, will cause price points to go down. The problem with what they're doing is if people react emotionally, which is probably what's happening, and what I mean emotionally is that people don't really look at the numbers and they go, oh my goodness, rates going up, I'm worried about what's going to happen. And you get a consumer that can afford a higher payment, we see this all the time, easily with their budget, but reacts by spending less because of worry what to come. That causes things to plunge into recession because what happens is you still need to have those high income earners, or not even high income earners, but you still need to have people with income consuming goods. If they become worried that rates will go up on a really aggressive basis, they start to hoard money or not spend the money that needs to be spent to stimulate the economy. And so what happens in those situations is then you have a rate cycle that they have to decrease to incentivize people to start spending money, which, that this trickles down to the economy in a number of ways, businesses and that type of thing. I think that I hold to the opinion that, that I think the rate cycle is coming to the end. I think we have one more left. And I think that, unless, barring the true likelihood of them avoiding a recession, which I think is impossible. I think that they are not mentioning this as possible, and I think this is going to inevitably happen. Then what you're going to see here is you're going to see a situation where a recession happens and rates move down. I hold to the opinion that I've shared many times that they are raising rates with the idea of kind of socking money away in order to have room to move rates down when the economy is slow. That's also indicative of where we are in the cycles. Like if you think about how many years it takes to get to recession, boom, bust, that type of thing, that's in line with that type of thing as well. So anyway, that's a precursor on that type of thing. If you want to discuss your mortgage, and we haven't done it already, please do reach out. Please share this video with anybody. If you hear someone that's worried about interest rates, please share this video. We'd love to have a conversation with them. There are options. If you're somebody that's saying, I'm worried about this payment, and look, I'm not remiss to the fact that people have $300-400 increases on payments. There's ways to lock the payment in. There's ways to interest only. A lot of interesting situations that exist. As always, have a great week. Let us know if we can help with anything, and we'll talk to you soon.